if it is a full-time job. It deserves to be a full-time job. It should be a full-time job. And with that, if they're doing their full-time job, they don't need an office manager. In defense of the office administrator, I happen to like him, and I've been in the office several times, and most of the time, he's the only one that can answer a question. So I'm torn because he's doing a good job. But the fact is that was put into place because the supervisor was never in the office. And that was wrong. It's a lie to the taxpayers, and it is not a wise use of taxpayer money. I would vote and actively pursue eliminating that position or having the township supervisor pay for that position out of their salary.
There you go.
Thank you, Jeannie. And Bill, please.
That is a pretty good question. Administrator, yeah, it's probably a little over title. Everybody likes titles. I look at him as a bookkeeper, and Jeannie is right. I've never had trouble with the guy. I mean, he knows his stuff. He gets everything. But yeah, the supervisor probably should be there a little more often than they are. Whether we need a full, he does take care of the books and does a good job taking care of the bookwork. So maybe we need 4 years ago, we had a part-time bookkeeper. We shared it with the highway department, and we had a part-time bookkeeper take care of the books, and the supervisor did the work, and maybe a couple secretaries or secretaries. So yeah, we could probably easily, if the supervisor does his job, his or her job, would be there to do the everyday work, and then maybe have a part-time bookkeeper to make sure everything gets done, because it's a big job. So, but it's very well being looked at. I'd like to look at it myself the next 4 years if we get in. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Final question, unless there are more out there. Does anyone have another question for trustees? Okay. Township donates tens of thousands of dollars to non-township groups. Who decides where this money goes, how it is accounted for? How can citizens see where this money is spent? Can citizens weigh in on the process? Kathy, I think we'll start with you again.
This process, I've been a witness to at the last couple meetings at the township. I cannot tell you exactly where the system came from or how it's accounted for. What it is the township donates to outside organizations. And that's what they do, and they vote on it. And I think that there needs to be accountability. There needs to be a system. If we come up with priorities for the township through a strategic plan and say these are the areas township is devoted to, say it's senior citizens, make it's domestic violence, youth programs, and that's how they want that particular part of the budget spent, then that's how I think it should be done. I think it should be done in an accountable way.
Thanks, Kathy. Jeannie, please.
I don't know who gave the question, but I could just hug you because this is something that's really near and dear to my heart. Again, I think it is smoke and mirrors and a lie to the taxpayers. They use it to say that this is not duplicating services. But as a steward of taxpayer money, my job is to make sure that every cent that is paid by the taxpayer is spent in a legitimate manner. To give money to another organization without involvement and oversight is not legitimate in my mind. It may be a wonderful place. In fact, they donated $200 to Hometown Heroes. It's a wonderful program, but they didn't even ask them for the money. They just got a check. But we need to analyze every way that we spend money. We need to have rules and regulations on how we do that. But mostly it's about partnerships and involvement. If I'm going to give money to an organization because they're promoting the work of the township, then I want to be involved in that decision making and oversee that financial obligation.
Thank you, Jeannie. And Bill, please.
They brought up very good points. 4 years we were supposed to have a policy on, because it's all over the board. We'll give $200 here, $1,000 there. It's all over the board. And I thought we were going to have a policy. Oh yeah, next meeting. We needed a policy. I mean, there's a lot of good groups we do give money to, CASA and few other things I can't think off the top of my head, I'm looking to give away. And there's groups out there, I kind of scratch my head. But, and it brings back the old attitude of, okay, it's the people's money. Maybe the mayor over here doesn't like this program. Why should we give our taxpayers money away? You know, and I imagine the villages are struck with that same problem too. You're working with taxpayers' money and you're giving it out to groups, so you better make sure there are legitimate groups and you are working with the groups like Jeannie was saying. We got to be involved with these groups. So, and we should have a policy. I don't know if the mayors, villages have policies, but Avon Township has yet to have a policy to say this is our cap. And that's why, that's what I'm going to strive to get if I elected another 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Hal, please.
I think this money, going to the accountability to the taxpayers, that is the key issue. And any money that gets donated, it almost should be their writing and applying to us for a grant for their needs, what they're going to use the money for, how it will benefit, how some benefit comes back to the township and the township taxpayers. So a policy that's very clear and very open so that people can know about it and apply in a proper manner and have their applications acted upon in a timely manner.
Thank you, Hal. Okay, I got one more question here. So, did everyone answer that last question? I think so. This has to do with lowering taxes in the township, and comments on the fact that taxes have gone down over 20% in the last 4 years. And they're asking about how will you lower taxes? This is an interesting question. Anyway, Jeannie, I guess we'll start with you again.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what they're trying to get at. The taxes are set by a levy. And in order to set the levy, you have to have a clear understanding of what that money is paid for. Part of the problem is their deficit spending in some funds and not in others, because there doesn't seem to be rhyme or reason to why they take money out of some funds and not from others. We've reviewed their budgets over the last 4 years, and as a person who lives and dies by budgets in my profession, I was perplexed and confused. And I don't often admit that I'm confused about money. So what I think we need to do before we talk about lowering levies or changing levies is to actually get the budgets in line, to look at what we spend it at, make sure we are cleanly accounting for every single cent that is there, and then if we do not need the money, then we need to change the levy. But I don't think right now we could tell if they need the money or not need the money, because it's willy-nilly. I wish our opponents were here to address this, but we can't tell why they're spending money out of certain funds and not others.
Thank you, Jeannie. Bill, please.
Yeah, we need to, they lowered, I'm still not quite clear on the question, but I'll just wing it here, I guess. But they've lowered the levy, which is great. I've been on a board for a long time, and previous administration lowered the levy, and pretty soon you don't have any money, and you're scrambling. And then you'll be like the state of Illinois, your deficit spending. And last year, the Avon Township deficit spent. There's no question about it, over $100,000. So they're gonna spend, we're lucky we have a bank. So there is money in there, so we're not, Avon Township is far from being broke, so don't worry about that. Because we were very frugal years ago, so there's money there. So they're able to cut the levy. It's easy to cut levies when you get money. So it's not wrong to cut levies, it gets things in balance, but you really gotta watch what you do, because if you don't get that, if you get your levy down low and then the multipliers are not there, taxes are so, I still can't understand taxes. Thank God we got an assessor. So, but thank you.
Thanks. Bill, okay, Hal?
Before you just randomly lower taxes, the money that you have has to be accounted for properly. Kathy referred to it, and I think the first question, that there are more lawsuits pending. You're going to start lowering taxes, and then there's going to be some liability, legal liability that the township owes. That would not be fiscally responsible. That would create even a further deficit. Before you lower taxes, and of course everyone would love lower taxes, but before you can lower taxes any further, you have to make sure that the current funds are properly properly accounted for, and that all the needs of the township are met in a proper and accurate manner.
Thanks, Hal. Kathy, please.
I'd like to take this question from the other side of the coin, my tax bill. My husband and I looked at our tax bill and we figured out if your real estate tax bill was $10,000, the township last year saved you $4. So what I'm saying to you is 20%, look at your tax bill and figure out what that means to you. $4 is $4. I guess I can go out and have a nice coffee. Percentages and actual in your pocket money can be two different things. That's it.
Thank you, Kathy. Okay, that's the end of our questions. So if you wouldn't mind a couple moments maybe, we're going to ask the candidates here maybe to take a seat in the front seat and ask the supervisor candidates, in this case candidate, if they would come up. No, you don't.
It's a shame. I had a great closing.
I think you all spoke very well. I think people picked up your passion and nothing else, so, okay. Take the center seat.
All the rest of them are going in?
Oh, they're all going up? Oh, okay. And then if after you're seated up here, it will give them a little time to adjust to a little spotlight and a hot seat, so that's good. But we'll take each office individually. So if at the end of your presentation and your segment, if you want to go sit down here, you're welcome to, or just stand there and wait for the end. So we're going to go into the office of supervisor now. And let me just bring you up to speed here. The supervisor is the chief executive officer of the township, chairman of the board of trustees, supervisor of general assistance, and treasurer of all funds, including general assistance and all road and bridge funds. The supervisor handles the daily operations of the township administration building and the township food pantry. There are two candidates for that position on the ticket. Unfortunately, Ms. Lisa Rush is unable to attend, but our second candidate, Douglas Raoul Williams, will speak to us this evening. So, Mr. Williams, if we can hear from you, please, sir.
Good evening, and I really appreciate Mayor Soto and the Village of Haynesville putting this together, because it is important that we have an informed electorate in such an important race. Ann and I have been residents of Haynesville for 10 years. I'm a United States Air Force veteran. I served on the Round Lake Area School District Board of Education from 2009 until March of 2012 when I was appointed to the Avon Township Board. I serve on several nonprofit boards, Youthville Lake County, Latino Coalition of Lake County, Leave No Child Inside Steering Committee with Friends of Ryerson Woods. I'm also on the steering committee for the Round Lake School Board Health Center, which we actually just obtained a $500,000 grant for a build out to the high school for a health clinic. I own my own business, and one of the things that I really would like to emphasize that we're really looking at is not raising property taxes for the next 4 years and keeping them flat. I also promise to work and collaborate